After the breakup, I made a snap decision to quit my job without giving it a second thought. I was just about to board a plane and start over in a new country when my ex-girlfriend, who also happened to be my former boss, showed up unexpectedly at the airport. She seemed desperate to win me back. She told me she had fired her assistant and wanted me to take the position of second-in-command at her company. It sounded like a fresh start, so I reluctantly agreed to stay and give things another shot. But as soon as I said yes, she pulled her hand away and started chatting cheerfully on the phone with her assistant, David. With a smirk, she said, "Looks like you were serious about coming back." Then, almost mockingly, she added, "But it was just a game. If you want to leave, go ahead. Nobody's stopping you." Her words hit like a slap, and the laughter of my coworkers only made it worse. They mocked me, calling me a loyal dog who would come running the moment she snapped her fingers. What they didn't realize was that I hadn't abandoned my plan to move abroad because of her. The truth was, the company I was heading to had just finalized an acquisition, and I was set to step in as their new CEO. When Emily revealed that her attempt to keep me around had been nothing more than a joke, I didn't lose my temper. I simply pulled out my phone and calmly booked a flight home. The jeers continued. "Michael, if you're not staying with her, why are you still here? Go on, book that flight. I thought you had this amazing offer overseas. What happened?" Emily said nothing, watching it all unfold with a smug expression. For years, I had endured the toxic, degrading atmosphere of that workplace. There were times I would have felt the need to defend myself, to rage at the fact that she wouldn't even step in to stop the mockery. But this time, I felt nothing. It was like I was watching a bad circus act. "This isn't your business, is it?" I said calmly. Emily scoffed, giving me a once-over with her eyes. "You're still so stubborn, clinging to those so-called skills of yours. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even have food on your table. Moving abroad? What a joke." I felt a grin tug at the corner of my mouth. Sure, I'd graduated from a prestigious university. Sure, I'd left a high-paying job that others would have killed for. Also, I could help her build her empire from the ground up. But in her mind, I was nothing more than a disposable piece on her chessboard. A pawn who owed everything to her. She had no idea how wrong she was. Even after everything, a part of me still loved her. I had stuck it out in a manager's position, never complaining, even when things got tough. But when she started handing my projects to Raphael, blaming me for his mistakes, and then went as far as to demote me, slash my salary, and reward him with promotions, I finally woke up. The blind, one-sided love I had clung to for so long had to end. So I quit. Walking out of that office for the last time, I felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief that I was finally escaping the toxic environment that had drained me for years, and anger at myself for letting Emily control my life for so long. I didn't look back. Every step away from that place was a silent promise. I was never coming back. At first, things were uncertain. Sure, I had the skills, but the job market isn't always kind. Luckily, I had a trump card. An offer to become the CEO of an international tech company that had just wrapped up a major acquisition. I didn't hesitate to accept. In my new role, I threw myself into the work, staying up late nights crafting strategies, restructuring teams, and tapping into unexplored markets. Within months, the company's profits soared, and my reputation followed suit. I went from being a forgotten middle manager to a recognized name in the industry. For the first time in a long time, I felt like my hard work was finally paying off. But while I thrived, the memory of Emily and everything that had happened lingered like a shadow. It wasn't just the way she had treated me or the humiliation I had endured. It was the way she and my colleagues thought they could toy with my life. I told myself to move on, to let it go. Yet, deep down, the need for justice burned within me. As time passed, my new company began expanding operations into Emily's home country. We quickly became one of the largest investors in the sector. I knew it was only a matter of time before our paths would cross again. When the day finally arrived, I wanted to ensure I was ready. This wasn't going to be a friendly reunion. It would be my moment of triumph. Through my network, I discovered that Emily was still at the same company, now sitting comfortably as the CEO. She seemed to think she had reached the pinnacle of success, and that only fueled my determination to bring her back down to earth. I started digging into the market, analyzing potential companies that could serve as strategic partners. It didn't take long to identify the perfect candidate: Emily's company. The fit was almost poetic. I reached out directly to the owner, presenting a highly attractive investment proposal. My pitch was simple. The partnership would proceed under one condition: the CEO had to be replaced. At first, the owner was surprised, even hesitant, but curiosity got the better of him. I explained that for such a significant investment, I needed a leader I could fully trust to execute the vision. He wavered, but the potential payoff was too enticing to ignore. Meanwhile, I ensured that Emily remained completely in the dark about my involvement. All correspondence went through my representatives or my vice president. She was thrilled about the possibility of the partnership, likely seeing it as a way to cement her position at the top. Little did she know, her arrogance was setting her up for a spectacular fall. The day of the final meeting arrived, and this time I made sure to attend in person. The moment I walked into the conference room, the shock on Emily's face was priceless. She tried to compose herself, but I could see the tension in her eyes and the way she clenched her jaw. "Emily, it's been a while, hasn't it?" I said with a faint smile, extending my hand for a handshake. "I'm glad to see you managed to keep the company afloat after everything." She mumbled something, clearly struggling to maintain her usual confidence, but the cracks were beginning to show. I kept the meeting professional, concealing my true intentions as we went through the agenda. When it was time to finalize the terms, I turned to the owner and spoke directly. "The proposal looks great, but there's one critical aspect we need to address. To move forward with the investment, we require new leadership. This isn't about discrediting anyone. It's about ensuring strategic alignment." The room went quiet. Emily immediately jumped in to defend herself, but the owner appeared more inclined to accept my terms. He understood that the investment could be transformative for his company, and ultimately that's what mattered most to him. "I'm sure you understand," I added, locking eyes with Emily, who now looked more lost than ever. "Decisions like this are necessary for growth." A few weeks later, I received official confirmation. Emily had been replaced. She had tried to resist, of course, but her years of arrogance and the toxic environment she had created had caught up with her. For me, this wasn't just about revenge. It was a demonstration that no one can treat others like stepping stones without facing consequences. Today, I continue to thrive in my career while Emily struggles to regain her footing in the industry. She learned the hard way that the power she once flaunted could vanish in an instant. As for me, I've moved on, knowing I achieved justice but refusing to let it define me. My greatest victory wasn't in toppling Emily, it was in valuing myself enough to walk away in the first place. Months after Emily's ousting, my life had reached new heights. My company was expanding faster than I could have imagined, and my name had become synonymous with success in the industry. But Emily and Raphael, it seemed, couldn't accept their defeat. Through various connections, I learned they were spreading rumors, trying to undermine my accomplishments. They claimed my success was all down to luck and that I didn't have what it took to run a company of this scale. First, I let it slide. I knew my work spoke louder than any petty gossip. But when they attempted to publicly humiliate me at a gala event, I decided it was time to set the record straight. The gala was a prestigious gathering of business leaders, and I had been invited as the keynote speaker. It was supposed to be a celebration of progress and innovation, but Emily and Raphael had other plans. When I arrived at the gala, it didn't take long to spot Emily and Raphael seated near the back, leaning in close and whispering while occasionally glancing in my direction. It was obvious they were scheming something, but I decided not to waste my energy on their antics. Instead, I focused on mingling with the other executives and staying engaged with the purpose of the evening. After delivering my keynote speech and receiving a warm response from the audience, I moved around the room, conversing with guests and enjoying the positive atmosphere. That's when Emily approached, her trademark cynical smile plastered across her face. "So, you really think you're all that, huh?" she began, her voice dripping with sarcasm. It's amusing how easily people fall for this image of yours as some great businessman. Before I could respond, Raphael appeared by her side, nodding in agreement like a dutiful sidekick. Yeah, no kidding. The truth is you just got lucky, he chimed in, trying to sound confident but failing miserably. All of this happened because you were in the right place at the right time. Their loud remarks began drawing attention, and I noticed a few executives turning their heads, curious about the unfolding confrontation. I took a steady breath, refusing to let their pettiness rattle me. This was the perfect moment to put an end to their games once and for all. Emily, Raphael, I began, my tone calm but firm. It's remarkable how, even now, you continue to underestimate me. Since you're both so eager for the spotlight, let's give everyone here a little clarity. The room fell silent as every eye turned toward us. Emily, I said, locking my gaze on her. You've always had a talent for manipulating the people around you. For years, you made it your mission to undermine me, even while I worked tirelessly to build something that ultimately only benefited you. When I finally walked away, you tried to humiliate me, assuming I'd always come crawling back for scraps. But look where we are today. You were replaced not by me but by your own actions. Your toxic leadership did that. She opened her mouth to interrupt, but I raised a hand, stopping her mid-breath. And you, Raphael, I continued, turning toward him. You've always been the opportunist. I gave you countless chances to prove yourself, to grow. Instead, you created problems, shifted blame, and relied on Emily to shield you while real contributors paid the price. You didn't earn your position. You simply played a game of survival under her protection. I pivoted to address the other executives in the room, ensuring my voice was clear and steady. These two represent the kind of individuals who cling to the past, attempting to tear down the work of others to mask their own failures. But in a market that values integrity, innovation, and genuine results, there's no place for that. When I turned back to Emily and Raphael, their confident facades had cracked. Emily's eyes burned with frustration, while Raphael stared at the floor, unable to meet anyone's gaze. It's time for you both to leave, I said, my voice unwavering. This event is for professionals who are here to contribute, not cause trouble. You've made it clear you don't belong. I gave a subtle nod to the security personnel nearby, who immediately stepped forward. Please escort these two out, I instructed. I'm sure they have other places to be. Emily began to protest, but the guards didn't waver. Meanwhile, Raphael followed silently, his shoulders slumped in defeat. As they were led out of the room, the air filled with a mix of quiet whispers and approving glances. I could feel the respect of those around me, and it was far more satisfying than any petty revenge could ever be. Once the atmosphere returned to normal, I allowed myself a moment of quiet satisfaction. I hadn't just exposed Emily and Raphael for who they truly were. I'd proven to myself and everyone else that I wasn't the same man they once tried to diminish. They had played dirty, but they learned the hardest lesson of all. Real power comes from respect, integrity, and relentless effort. That night, I walked away stronger and more assured than ever. Emily and Raphael? They were nothing more than bitter reminders of a past I had worked hard to leave behind. In the months that followed, my life took an unexpected turn. Not just professionally but personally. My career flourished, my company thrived, and my name became a symbol of success. But beyond the accolades and achievements, I rediscovered myself. I found clarity about who I was and what I deserved. Looking back, I realize every setback, every moment of humiliation, and every obstacle was necessary to bring me here. The journey wasn't easy, but it shaped me into the person I've become. And for that, I'm grateful. After Emily was removed as CEO, she tried to salvage her career by seeking opportunities with other companies. However, her toxic and manipulative tendencies seemed to follow her wherever she went. In the corporate world, news spreads fast, and nobody wanted to associate themselves with someone whose ego had once brought down an entire organization. At first, Emily leaned heavily on her old connections, people she had once controlled with ease. But even they began to back away when they realized that supporting her could tarnish their own reputations. One by one, those allies distanced themselves, leaving Emily with fewer options. She eventually had to accept positions far below the prestige she once enjoyed, clinging to any chance to repair her shattered image. It became painfully clear that her glory days were behind her. The woman who once believed she was untouchable now found herself struggling to gain respect in roles that barely mattered in the grand scheme of things. To me, this wasn't revenge. It was simply the inevitable outcome of her choices catching up with her. Raphael's downfall came even faster. Without Emily's protection, he crumbled under the weight of his own incompetence. When his workplace misconduct surfaced, he had no one left to shield him. He was swiftly fired from multiple roles and attempted to pivot into a different industry, but his tainted reputation followed him like a shadow. In a last-ditch effort to stay afloat, Raphael opened a small business. But lacking both the discipline and the skills to run it effectively, that venture failed too. In the end, he was reduced to taking mediocre jobs where his past failures remained unknown. While Emily and Raphael scrambled to pick up the broken pieces of their lives, I kept moving forward, gaining momentum with every step. My company flourished, expanding into untapped markets and establishing itself as a leader in innovation and development. I became a well-known figure in the industry, frequently invited to deliver keynote speeches, attend high-profile events, and forge influential partnerships. But as my professional success reached new heights, I realized there was something even more important waiting for me: building a genuine personal life, something I had never truly experienced with Emily. That's when I met Sophia. It wasn't some grand or meticulously planned encounter. We were introduced through mutual friends at a casual gathering. I showed up with no expectations, but from the moment I saw her, I knew there was something different about her. Her energy was magnetic, her smile felt genuine, and the way she spoke had a sincerity that was almost disarming. We started talking, and to my surprise, there were no games, no manipulation, no hidden motives. Sophia was authentic, direct, and carried an effortless ease that felt surreal after everything I had been through. Our conversations became more frequent, and before I knew it, what started as a simple friendship grew into something much deeper. Sophia didn't just understand my ambitions. She supported them wholeheartedly. Unlike Emily, who had a knack for tearing me down or making me feel inadequate, Sophia celebrated every accomplishment as if it were her own. She stood by me through the difficult times, always reminding me that I didn't have to carry every burden alone. What I had once only dreamed of, a relationship built on trust, mutual respect, and genuine connection, I found with Sophia. But it was so much more than I ever imagined. She wasn't just my partner. She became my confidant, my biggest cheerleader, and my closest friend. No matter how tough a day I'd had, I knew I could come home to her, not to be judged or criticized, but to share in both the highs and the lows. With Sophia, I finally understood what love truly meant. It was balance, unwavering support, and a partnership that lifted me up instead of weighing me down. Now, after more than 2 years together, I can say with absolute certainty that I've never been happier. Sophia has surpassed every expectation I ever had for love and has helped me realize how much more I deserved than what I used to settle for. When I think of Emily now, I feel nothing but indifference. She holds no more meaning to me than the shoes I wear, not out of anger, but because she simply no longer matters. Her power over me is gone, replaced by the clarity and joy I found with Sophia. And for that, I couldn't be more grateful. Everything I once idealized with Emily, I've now found with Sophia, but it's so much more than I ever thought possible. The life I used to dream about in moments of frustration doesn't even compare to the incredible reality I live today. Sophia has shown me that love isn't supposed to be a constant struggle or a battlefield. Instead, it's a space where growth, support, and joy can thrive. When I look back, I realize every hardship I endured had a purpose. If I hadn't faced Emily's humiliations, betrayals, and disdain, I might never have found the courage to walk away from that toxic cycle. I might never have dared to pursue something better. And without that leap, I wouldn't have met Sophia or discovered how to truly value myself. Now, my life feels whole. I have an extraordinary woman by my side, a career that continues to flourish, and, most importantly, the peace of knowing I've left the past exactly where it belongs. Emily and Raphael are nothing more than distant memories from a chapter that's long since closed. I've moved on, and I've done it in the best way possible. Happy, fulfilled, and finally free.